Now, the next one on our list is my personal favorite, the Spiderman Dresser. We're able to pick this one up for free, and I feel that this has been a very unique learning experience because just like other pieces of furniture, we've had this for a while, and we've already started this on a phase 2 makeup with repainting and sanding.
Yes, and it's not only his favorite, it is also my favorite. And I have a little bit of a bias towards this dresser for some reason. I feel like it has enormous potential, and I say that because when we got it, well, you see the picture, it looks awful. It looks like a piece of junk. However, the bones and body of this dresser it's just solid, and I feel is going to look gorgeous when we're done.
But don't be too critical on us. Remember, this is going to be essentially our first project in phase 2. So we have a lot to learn in painting and sanding and trying to get this refurbished for us to sell it at a good profit.
Yeah, this is a learning experience for sure. It's my first revamp of a piece of furniture. I've made furniture before, however, this is a little bit of a different take on furniture. So I'm excited to see how it's going to look, and I'm also excited to learn more and improve our skills.
So this is our Spiderman Dresser. As you can see, there's some sort of laminate or large sticker placed on the top of this dresser that we're going to have to remove. Everything else on this dresser, the bones look pretty good. If you can notice that the drawers are missing handle pieces, and that one drawer naturally sticks out. There's also a type of velvet inlay in the first drawer, in the top drawer, and the rest of the drawers are solid wood. There's no dovetail, but the drawers are held together pretty decently. Now you can also notice there's leftover clothes from the previous owner in there. We picked this dresser up for free. This is a camera view of checking underneath it, showing you that there's a little damage on some of the legs. And overall, I say this is going to be an interesting piece to flip, and we're going to see what we can do with it. Going to be taking the hardware out first, and then we're going to attempt to tackle sanding this piece after we first get it cleaned up a bit. Now, some of the railings are also broken. The drawers are supposed to stop after you pull them out a certain length, but the railings are broken, so I'm going to have to get some replacement pieces to fix that. Now for cleaning, all I'm doing is just using Dawn soap and water, and just need to get everything cleaned off first, so that way if I'm going to sand with my random orbital sander or sand by hand, there's no gunk that's going to start getting stuck on the sandpaper. So here I'm going to show you what I normally use for fixing projects that need a little wood glue. Right now I'm just trying to get that one wooden piece fixed and shaped so that way it will glue on nice and tight. This may not be really a huge deal to fix on the dresser, but I would figure I would take my time with it since it was another one of the first projects that we use. I use the Titebond wood glue brand. It's alright brand. Once it dries, it's not that solid. Like if you start sanding over it, it does have this type of rubbery feel to it, but it holds on very tightly for sure. I'm using the vise to hold it in place while I work on the rest of the dresser and sanding and getting that top laminate sticker off. Now the wood filler I'm going to use is this brand called Plastic Wood. It's a professional wood filler from DAP, and we're going to use pine, even though it doesn't really matter since the dresser is already painted black. And I don't think it really matters what type of wood glue you're going to use, but when you have a corner piece that you're seeing me repair, I would advise that instead of wood filler, you for sure need to use Bondo. Bondo is a lot better product to use, especially when you know there's going to be an impact happening in that area and it's going to get knocked on again. So the wood filler is not going to hold up very strongly. And this particular brand of wood filler is a little difficult to manage and to form. It becomes very sticky. You can fix this wood filler by adding a little bit of acetone inside of it, and it says that already on the instructions, and it won't be as difficult to handle when you're using it on a product. And as you can see, I'm showing you the back of the label, and it says do not use with bare hands or it may cause irritation. And that's exactly what it ended up doing to me. It started drying my fingertips out. So now we're scraping this off, and it is difficult. It takes me a really long time trying to get all of this Spider-Man sticker off, and then underneath the sticker there was also another sticker of some sort of compass wallpaper that was on underneath it. And I was just looking at it and I said, you know what, I wish this would go a lot quicker, because that took me the longest. So I saw something on YouTube that would make it go faster, so I'm trying this out. Oh, perfect, it worked. And look, it's even later in the day. Oh, it was getting a little hot outside anyway. So that's the wood underneath it. Now it looks really, really good. And what I did also was I cleaned it up with some mineral spirits, and you can see that the wood filler didn't, it filled that crack, but it didn't fill it in quite as nice. And you're wondering why I may not be staining the top. It's because the dresser top seemed to have had some sort of MDF filler in it already. If it's not very clear in the video, if you put wood filler on any sort of wood and it has imperfections on it, like a huge scratch, or it doesn't have a natural smooth wood filler, as you can see, it's going to be very apparent after you stain it, and you're going to see all the imperfections in the wood, and these imperfections just did not look natural. I don't know if it was because it was a thin veneer over the dresser, or that's just how it was made, but it did not look natural. So I decided not to put a stain over the top of it, and right now I'm using this same wood filler to fill in the crevices on the top. And as you can see, I'm using this scraper as well as my fingers to get this putty in, but it was not working very well, and every time I scraped over it, it would actually pop out of the crevices, so I had to use my fingers on it as well. Overall, I would say the hardest part about all this was just getting the Spider-Man sticker laminate and everything under it off of it.
So my son Lucian was watching me and kind of checking out what I'm doing. I did let him hand paint a little bit just to see how cool it is, and yeah, so it's kind of cute. We decided to go with just one solid color for this piece. After the wood filler and the sanding, we did put a layer of primer. As you can see, it went from wood to now painted. We ended up using some gray primer, and this really helped to have a different color primer than what you're putting on for the paint. Here I'm using a synthetic brush. I decided to hand paint this piece because I wanted to see the difference of how the paint lays on there. So essentially we just kind of wanted to test out the difference between spraying and hand painting. I decided to use an angle brush, and this one obviously is a smaller one. I'm just doing a light layer of paint for each layer that I'm painting on there. Here I'm doing the drawers, the drawer faces, and again for the edges I'm using the angled synthetic brush, and then for the tops I'm just using the thicker 2-inch, just so that my brush strokes look smooth and put together. And now as you can see, I believe I put 2 layers of paint here.
So taking a closer look at the piece after it's been painted over a couple of times, you can see that we didn't sand down very well, and that's really important, especially for the top of the piece. You can still see the spots of the crevices as well as the wood filler, and there's also some noticeable lines in how we painted this piece by brush. I think some people do like how furniture looks when there's these brush strokes, but in our case you could actually feel the brush strokes, and we probably should have tried to sand a lot more. Now I got a different kind of wood filler. This one's Plastic Wood X, and it's a water-based one, so it's not going to be as rough on our hands in using. And it most definitely was a lot easier to apply to the areas that needed them all over again. So I went ahead and put some more wood filler on the top, since a couple of more coats of paint were going to be applied to this piece. And this wood filler goes on pink, but once it dries to whatever color that you picked out. This one's just natural. It's like a light pine color once it dries, and that's fine because the type of paint we're using again is the Rust-Oleum's chalk paint white. So I'm using the wax decorative finish again for the top coat for protection, and I got new pieces for the railings to make a natural stop for those drawers. And I grab the same cheesecloth and I start wiping this down. If you haven't watched our previous video in which we talk about our 30-day challenge plan, you will see at the end of it I'm also using this wax to flip the large laminate desk that we did about the same time as we're doing this Spiderman dresser. You can actually see the desk in the background there in the corner. So this wax goes on nice and smooth. I put the first coat on and then I let it dry. I end up covering the whole piece with this wax, and I put 3 coats on it. Once it dries and cures, it becomes really solid. But it does get a little messy on your hands as you're using it, for sure.
Okay, so here's the before, and here is the beautiful, gorgeous after. I am in love with the way that this piece turned out. We decided to use some intricate pulls to kind of just accentuate the way that this piece looks and offset the bright white of the chalk paint. So here you can see the pulls, and it just turned out so gorgeous. We ended up selling this piece for $125, and it sold quickly.